What's up, guys? Today we are in Waxahachie, Texas at Lippert's plant 241. That's where they build all the axles that go under Diamond C trailers. And what we're doing is we're gonna see just how it's made from start to finish, from raw material to finished product. Let's go check it out. All right, so we're at the first stage. We're here with Cruz Moore. He is an 11-year veteran. 11-year veteran at Lippert. He is the assistant general manager of the Waxahachie plant here just outside of Dallas, Texas, where the majority of Diamond C axles come from. Diamond C Lippert brand axles come from. So, Cruz, if you don't mind, you're gonna give us the whole tour through here, but start with stage one. What's happening as soon as that pipe lands here? That is the axle tube, and how does it get processed?
Yes, sir. So as soon as axle tube lands here at our facility, we keep it outside. We're cutting off a sample piece, right? And we're sending it out for that rigorous testing. You know, we're running it through an Instron machine. We're doing tensile strength. We're checking the chemistry of that steel before we ever put it into play inside the facility. So once we've gone through all that testing, we say, okay, it's good to bring it into the facility. We bring it inside. It's all being crane loaded into our saws over here, and we'll get into that process.
Cool. So where is your tube sourced from? Like,
So,
you don't have to give us secrets of vendors necessarily, but the question is where it's sourced
we're proud to say that there's a good percentage of our tube that's actually sourced here in Texas, but all of our tube is sourced domestically.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
Yes,
cool.
So cool. After our pipe's tested and we've designated that that's good material to use, we start with our saw processes. So looking at the HD process specifically, we use a cold saw over here. It's an automated saw, and we'll let our guy here, Ryan May, show us how that process works. So there's step one of our axle build process. He's just cut the tube to length. You're going to notice that he's going to measure that tube straight out of the machine. We trust this machine, but we want to ensure, and you're going to see redundancy through our process as we walk through that. You'll see that same process of measuring the tube 5, 6, 7 times throughout our process. All right, Jacob. So the next process in our HD process is creating the plug weld hole. We do that with a CNC plasma machine, which you see back here behind us. We program this machine to cut about a quarter size hole that we're going to later plug weld in our spindle weld process.
Yeah. So the wheel and tire goes on to the end of the hub, which the hub is mounted on a spindle. The spindle is what he's saying is welded into that tube. And they do this to ensure that it has a really solid connection where you don't have any issues down the road.
Yeah, that's absolutely the most important marriage in our whole entire assembly process or build process, is to make sure that spindle and all those wheel end components stay together, right?
All right, so whenever we started, I failed to mention that we were looking and following the build of what we call heavy-duty axles. 10K, 12K, 16K axles are the line kind of that we're following through the plant. And so here at stop 3, what do we have?
So stop 3, we have our spring saddle, or what we call our spring seat mounting process. So we use our hand welders. I must let everybody know that these are AWS certified hand welders that we have doing this process here, but we're going to be installing our spring seat onto our axle tube. And again, you're going to see redundancy in this process of measuring that tube cut length. They're measuring to make sure that these are centered. They're 100% inspecting all of their welds, and those will later be inspected too. So again, we do have a lot of redundancy in this process, but that's because we're trying to make sure that we have the best quality axle that we can put out there on the market.
So where are we headed after the saddle weld process?
All right, so after the saddle weld process happens, now we're ready for our powder coat process. So we run all of our axle beams through powder coat, which has a 3-stage wash that removes all the impurities and imperfections in that steel. So that way we can get a clean adhering bond. Yeah. And also we want to have the cleanest welds possible. So any surface rust or anything of that nature that may be on that tube, we want to remove all that.
Got it. So now we have a nice clean finish. Got that beautiful powder coat finish on the axle tube. Where are we headed after that?
So after that, in our HD process, we're going to go to our spindle weld process. We got Mr. Sonny over here getting ready to run one for us right now. So as he goes through that, I'll walk you through what he's got going on. So he's going to be loading up his spindles, making sure they're in the right orientation. He's got his machine already preset to the tube cut length in the right program. So every different capacity of tube has a different set of fixtures and has a different program to run along with it. He's taking care of his back, it looks like, using that lift assist. So once he loads up here, you're going to see him. He's going to put a level on that to make sure that we have that nice 90 perpendicular fitting that we're looking for. Once he does that, he's going to jog his machine in and get a nice good seat between the spindles in that tube. And making sure that he's squaring those spring seats up with the brake flange. So now that he's done that, he's going to lower his torches. He's checking for the angle of those torches, making sure they're in the right spot. He's going to do a visual check to say, yep, I looked at it. They're right where I want them to be. He's going to get clear, and then he's going to tell it to go. Curtains drop, and sparks will start flying.
So this is where we're picking up that plug weld process that we talked about earlier, where we've cut the quarter size holes. This is where we're picking that back up.
Right, so this is a primary difference between our HD capacity axles and our light duty capacity axles. So this is going to rear offload, where our normal spindle weld on light duties, they'll front offload and they'll do all their quality checks on this side. He's got some support staff on the back side he's going to offload to, and they're going to do those quality checks, and then they're going to do that plug weld for us.
So guys, this is one of those details that with the Lippert product on this heavy duty axle, that it's a differentiator. You know, it's not a massive thing, but it's one of those details, that plug weld, that it's an added step of insurance to make sure, again, you don't have an issue with your heavy duty axle. And just for the sake of it, this is a 12,000 pound axle that you're seeing. So they're welding those spindles in on a 12K axle. So we flipped from the other side, we've welded our spindles in. What's going on with these guys?
Right, so once it does that rear offload like we talked about earlier, what they're checking right now is what we call toe, cross, and camber. The way I always relate this is like a wheel alignment with your vehicle, right? You want to make sure that vehicle's tracking straight down the road, that it's not dog walking or doing any of that funky stuff, and that's what they're checking right now. So they just checked their toe and their cross, now they're checking the camber of that axle. So we allow for an 1/8 inch of a tolerance here, and we're very strict on that. I'll also point out this is where our beam label gets put on. So this is your serial information. All of the information around this axle is held in that serial label. So if we ever need to find out anything down the road, we find it out through this label. We'll also see, come on, Caden. So my guy Caden here, what he's going to be doing is he's doing an ultrasonic scan of every single one of these axles, and what it's doing is it's shooting a signal down at a 45-degree angle underneath that weld, and that signal is returning back to this diode, and he's looking for spikes. And if he sees spikes, that's telling him that there's voids in that weld and that we don't have a good weld. So as he's going through, he's got this blue line here being the threshold. As long as we stay below that blue line, we know we have a good weld there. So once he does that, he's going to take a snapshot of his results, and those get saved along with this axle. So if we ever have a problem in the future, we can reflect back to what he's saving, and we can know, did we have an issue or did we not inside of that spindle weld. So, and as we talked about on the other side of the machine and back there at that plasma, we have this hole here, right? And you can see the throat of that spindle down inside this tube. There's one adjacent side. We're going to plug those in, and we're going to weld down into the throat of that spindle and bring it all together and tie it in. This is a security weld. I'll say in 11 years of my experience, I have never seen one of these spindle welds fail, and it's due to that measure right there.
So we got our spindles welded in good and tight.
Right.
Now behind us, where are we going?
Right, so now that the beam is ready to go, now we have to dress out that beam with all of our assembly parts. We're going to put our brakes on. We're going to put our hubs on. We're going to attach our spindles. We're going to bundle everything up. And yeah, we're going to see that right now. All right, so as far as our assembly process goes, step 1 is installing the brakes. Step number 2 is going to be installing the hubs. we're going to adjust those hubs. Then our quality personnel is going to come in. They're going to do a hub check. They're going to check again for that toe cross camber. They're going to check that tube cut length. They're going to check everything that we've already checked through the other process. Then it's going to go to our paint and wire to close up and pretty up that axle and to get everything wired up. Then step 4 is going to be to install our springs. After that axle is built, it's ready to go out the door.
So we're at the end of the process, one step left. Where are we at?
That's right. So we're here at PDI, also known as our pre-departure inspection. So this is the last step. This is where my guardian angel here, Jawan, who, I mean, he's going through this axle top to bottom. He's doing all those redundant checks that we spoke about earlier. He's also looking at the aesthetics of the axle. He's making sure those wires are right, that they're connected properly. He's making sure that the right components are on. He's looking over the whole thing, top to bottom, like I said. So that's where we're at.
Once it leaves here out of PDI, goes on an 18-wheeler, ships out to Diamond C. We then receive it in, inspect it, and it starts going on your next Diamond C trailer. All right, crews, so we've seen the entire process, start to finish. We've seen how it's made, all of the intentionality that goes into it, the quality assurance, all of those things. You know, it's very an intentional process to build a high quality axle, right? So a question that I have that we get asked from time to time is when an axle is rated at 7,000 pounds or 12,000 pounds, what does that mean? Like, how do you have the confidence to rate it at that? What goes into rating an axle at said weight?
Yeah, no, those are fair questions, and I don't want to lead you wrong or get caught lying to you. So I think it's best that we get the mad scientist on the horn and ask him these questions so we can get those specific answers.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and give Bruce a call and see what he's got to say about that, right?
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. So we're calling Bruce Bailey, one of Lippert's lead engineers. He's been with them for 20 plus years. And like he said, he's the mad scientist. So let's see.
Hey, Bruce, I got Jacob here with me, and we got some questions for you, man, on how we get to some of the conclusions we get to when it comes to our axles and how we're guaranteeing some of the quality behind them.
Hi, guys.
Cool. So, yeah, one of the things, Bruce, that I'm asking is like on a 7K axle, 12K axle, you know, how does Lippert confidently get to that rating, right? They say that it's going to endure, you know, the life of the axle and live up to what you say it is at 7,000 pounds. Well, what does it go through to get to that?
Yeah, well, we could start with the axle assembly itself. So that axle assembly is built with multiple components like leaf springs, brakes, tubes, spindles. Each one of those components we assign a rating to. So a leaf spring that's rated for 3,000 pounds, we're going to put that on a 6,000 pound axle. So each component has that rating, and then the axle rating is just a culmination of that. And then the capacity of that axle is set to the weakest link. So if I have a 2,000 pound spring on a 5,200 pound axle, I'm going to rate that axle for 4,000 pounds. So that's kind of the easy part of it, and figuring out the axle capacity that's going to go on the serial label. Now, behind all of that, to determine the component rating, that's really where the fun is, and that's what I do and get excited about doing every day. So, for instance, like the axle tube. So the axle tube, we want that axle tube to be rated for a load that is much less than the actual load to bend that axle, right? So we would call that a safety factor. So I can rate it for this, but I know it can actually take this load before it actually bends. So that's kind of the secret sauce of the axle tube. So that safety factor in the middle there has to take all the dynamic loading and durability and fatigue cycling on the road in the real world. So that's one example. Leaf springs are another one. So we have specific tests that we use for each component to develop the criteria for those components to pass, to be rated at X capacity. So a leaf spring rated for 3,000 pounds, well, I want to apply, 2 times the rated load and cycle that thing over hundreds of thousands of cycles and determine the failure point of that spring. So then I can gauge the cycle life versus the capacity I want to rate it at, and then I can have kind of a line in the sand that, hey, I need these springs to last 200,000 cycles. And that's the capacity I would come up with then for that leaf spring.
Yeah.
So that'd be another example. Seals are another component. So we do rotational testing of the seal, determine how many hours we can run that seal before it starts to leak. Similar with bearings. Bearings we actually send out to a third party that has a large bearing test machine. So we'll set minimum criteria for hours ran on that bearing test. Another one is brakes. Certainly a very important part of the axle. Brakes. We looked at Canada for the braking standard. U.S. doesn't really have a braking standard for trailers, other than DOT. But when you get into 8K and under, that's going on a utility trailer. A lot of times there is no braking standards to look to. So we actually looked at the Canadian standard. They actually do have braking standards. So brakes must stop within a certain distance, carrying this much weight. So we take that as our braking standard, and then we design all of our brakes to meet those standards. So if someone ever asks, what is the braking standard, we always have that to reference and go back to and say, this is what we comply to. There really is nothing in the U.S., unfortunately. So again, we kind of take all those specific components that we had specific tests for to get the capacity of each component, and then the end we roll that up into the axle buffet, if you will. So you can select all your different components, and then the axle end rating on the tag is the weakest link of that sauce or that buffet of parts.
That's very cool. Yeah, it's good to hear, like the intentionality, right? Like you can have all of this process that we just have seen of building the axle, but if it wasn't engineered to those specs as you talked about, all the individual components and things, it would kind of be all for naught. So it's cool to understand that, when these folks that are using axles to make a living every day, like they understand, man, there's a whole lot of work that goes into building that axle, so it's gonna stand up to the work that they need to do every day, putting food on the table. So
that's right, Jacob. Very important job for us. So we take that serious, and look forward to serving you, our customer, and everyone else out there. So
very cool. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Well, you heard it from the
thank you,
horse's
sir.
mouth. Oh, you're good. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Again, that's Bruce Bailey, lead engineer at Lippert. Lots of thought, lots of actual engineering processes go into building an axle. And also you saw the whole process. You've seen how it's made. It's been Lippert exposed. All right, guys, that's a wrap. It's been a hot day in the Texas sun. I hope that was insightful, gave you a little bit of insight into just how axles are made, and we'll see you on the road.